Okay, so this is other patterns of inheritance. Today I'm going to talk about exceptions to Gregor-Mendel's principles, and then talk about how your environment also plays a role in the traits that you possess. Okay, so I'm going to go through multiple examples of patterns that don't follow Gregor-Mendel's. And so the first one that we are going to cover is incomplete dominance. And this is a case where one allele is not dominant over the other. So they call it incomplete. The heterozygous, so hetero means you carry the allele for both the capital letter and the lowercase letter. That phenotype, that what you can physically see, is somewhere between the two homozygous phenotype. And so we do see this in snapdragons and 5 o'clock flowers. But here I have a red flower denoted with 2 capital R's, and it's crossed with a white flower, 2 lowercase letters. These are purebred for their traits, but then you notice that the offspring, when I fill it in, it's big R, little r, and they are not red and they are not white. They're a mix. It's like a blend. So anytime where you see the heterozygous individual that does not match any of the parents, that is considered incomplete dominance. Okay. Another example of, or an exception to Gregor-Mendel's either-or trait is called codominance. And that means that when both alleles are in a genotype, so the capital letter and the lowercase letter, they are both expressed in the heterozygous. So we're not mixing. They kind of stand their own. We see this in chickens, human blood, which I will come back to in a couple of slides. Human protein blood cholesterol levels.
Band and choir students who are participating in the solo ensemble contest today are now dismissed. Band and choir students participating in the solo ensemble contest today are now dismissed. Thank you.
All right. So with the horse, I have a white horse and a red horse, and they are crossed together. And white, they're purebred for white, red, purebred for red. But then the offspring is roan. And if you zoom in on the hairs, you see white hairs and red hairs. So both hairs show up. It's not a blend. If you look very closely, you'll see both. In cattle, coat color in cattle, red cow, big R, white cow, big R, and they have like a subscript. I don't know if it's a plus. But then cross them together and you get roan, and they're both being shown here. So spotted cow. Chickens, white chicken crossed with a black chicken, and you get speckled chicken. So both white and black feathers appear in that heterozygote. So that's codominance. So with human blood, there's one phenotype that is codominant, and that is type AB. Are you guys old enough to donate yet? Yeah? No? Okay. Some of you might be. Okay. So this is the right concept, but it's biologically incorrect, okay? Because in codominance, both traits appear. So like a duck with a beaver does not give you a platypus, but, both traits appear. Or like panda bears are not created this way, a polar bear and a black bear, and then both traits appear. So that's not how that happens. But, you can kind of think of it as both traits being exhibited there. Okay, a third type of exception, other pattern of inheritance, is multiple alleles. And this is where I'm going to come back to human blood types. So we have a gene that has more than 2 alleles. It's not just a uppercase letter and a lowercase letter. Now we have other letters, more than 2. So human blood types, the alleles for human blood types, I'll just write them on the board if you want to write them, but there's different ways to show it. You can go like IA, IB, there's little I think that's it. But it has 3 alleles. And just from those 3 alleles, you can get all the combinations of different blood types in us. Fur color in rabbits as well as chinchillas. You can see here we have 2 capital C's and then a capital C, lowercase c with a CH, and a capital C with the lowercase ch, or big C. So anyways, if you have the big C, you'll show the full color. Let me zoom in on this. Okay, so like the rabbits that you kind of see out in nature, okay, big C. The chinchilla colored, notice that it's carried just on the CH gene. So you need the CH to show the chinchilla color. The Himalayan, where it's almost like a Siamese, you know, dark coloration at the tips, is the CH allele. And then the albino is the 2 lowercase c's. And that is like the recessive of all of them. So there's probably some ranking that goes on with these multiple alleles. So more on human blood types. This is a table, let me zoom in on this table, that shows different alleles, okay? So we have type A. There's a couple different ways, a couple different genotypes you could have for type A. So you notice I did IA, So you could be IA with an I, or homozygous dominant for type A. So then the blood type could be also written like this, but you can get blood from A or from O. If you're type B, same thing, but instead of a A allele, you now have the B. So you could be heterozygous or homozygous for it. So then BB or BO. So you can receive blood from B or O. If you are type AB, this is your genotype. There's only one genotype. You have an allele for the A and the allele for the B, and you can receive blood from anybody. So you are the universal recipient, which is kind of nice. If you should ever get into an accident, they can just give you whatever blood they have on hand. Type O is a unique situation here where there's only one genotype and it's 2 lowercase i's, and they are type O. They can give blood to anybody, but they can only receive type O blood. So they are the universal donor. So if you have type O blood, you should think about donating regularly. My sister is actually type O blood, so I'm actually going to talk a little bit about my family here and make a Punnett square. So I'm going to have to sit because I'm videotaping and I can't. Okay. So my dad was in the military, and I would always play with his dog tags. And on the dog tags, they stamp your blood type. And my dad was A positive, okay? So there's a couple different ways I could show my dad's genotype. For sure, he's got the IA, okay? But I don't know what this allele is yet. I just told you my sister's blood type. What's my sister's blood type?
Type O.
Type O. So what is her genotype? Yeah, those 2 little i's. So I'm going to stick 2 little i's here. This is my sister. And so that means my dad is a carrier for type O blood. Okay. I have type A blood. I'm A positive, but I don't know if I carry the allele. And I actually just texted my mother a couple weeks ago. Hold on here. Because I was curious to see if she knew her blood type. Nope. Guess it's not going to show. I should have looked at this earlier. I'm sorry. Because I just taught this lesson to my 7th graders a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to look it up later. But I know for sure that my dad is type A, and I have type A, so I have this allele. But, I could be a carrier depending on what my mom's genotype is. But anyways, just kind of figuring out the family history there from blood type. So if you ever figure out your blood type, ask your parents, do you know your blood type? And then see if you can figure out the alleles. Okay, so the 4th other pattern of inheritance is polygenic. I found it. My mom says that she's A positive. So there's a chance I could be homozygous, A positive, or hetero. I could be carrying the little I. Okay, so when you break down the word polygenic, Poly, what does poly mean? Poly,
Like
a lot, yeah. Poly means many. Okay, and what does genic mean? Genes, yeah, so many genes. So here we have one trait that's controlled by many genes, okay, 2 or more. And as a result, you end up with a wide variety of phenotypes. So for us, we have a lot of polygenic traits like eye color. You know, it's not just blue eyes or brown eyes. We have hazel eyes and just different variations with eye color. Coat color in dogs, human height is polygenic. Skin color, different skin tones, those are all examples of polygenic traits. So many genes for one trait. Okay, switching gears to a kind of a new field that's being explored. Well, it's being used a lot nowadays to figure out fossils and whatnot. Maternal inheritance. So maternal means mother, and your mitochondria, all the mitochondria that are inside your cells are the same mitochondria from your mother. And your mother shares the same mitochondria as her mother. So all 3 generations worth and so on and all the way back, you have the same mitochondria. Because in an egg cell, that's where all the mitochondria are made. Sperm cells, when they fuse, they don't carry mitochondria. So the only thing you get from a sperm cell is DNA. But the egg cell is organelles, all the organelles basically, and plus DNA. So everyone, your mitochondria is the same as your mother's and as her mother's and so on and so forth. So we call this maternal inheritance. Genetic imprinting means that modifications can occur in your genome. So it's called epigenetics, and I'm going to show you this website. It's really cool. Kind of weird, but it's cool. If you just type in Utah genetics, you can find some other awesome things, but turn on. Okay, so here's a mother rat pup, and she is caring for her young by licking them, okay? So it's just a video just showing that she's caring for her young. So it says, where is Lick Your Rats? Oh no, it's been gone. No, are you serious? Because flash. Okay, so it says some other rats spend a lot of time licking, grooming, and nursing their pups. Others seem to ignore their pups. Highly nurtured rat pups tend to grow up to be calm adults, while rat pups who receive little nurturing tend to grow up to be anxious. It turns out that the difference between a calm and an anxious rat is not genetic, it's epigenetic. The nurturing behavior of a mother rat during the first week of life shapes her pup's epigenomes, which is their genes. And the epigenetic pattern that mom establishes tends to stay put even after the pups become adults. And then it goes on to talk about how an anxious rat pup could be advantageous, especially if they live in a dangerous environment. But the thing is, it's so sad because they used to have this little flash here, and then you pretended to be the mother pup or the mother, and then you'd literally click on the pup and you'd lick it, and then had this awesome sound effect of, and then you can see how their genome changes just by how many times you lick the rat pup within a certain time, or if you don't. But so I guess, yeah, Flash, so sad. I miss Flash. So this ties into genes and the environment, how your characteristics that you have are not 100% determined by the genes that you get. Environment plays a huge role in your genes. There are genes that if they are exposed to different temperatures, you get different colorizations. So take a look at these Himalayan rabbits. It says reared at 20 degrees Celsius or less, then you get the dark colored pigments. Reared at temperatures above 30 degrees Celsius, then it's more white. This is the same with Siamese cats. So if you have Siamese cats, maybe you have barn cats and they're Siamese cats, whatever. Dark colorization means they have been exposed to cold temperatures when they were born. whereas lighter Siamese, they're probably indoor cats, just because they don't get exposed to those cold temperatures. Day length, nutrition, and stress. So day length, I think, ties into the moths here. Nutrition and stress, definitely for humans. So I think I have a slide here that talks about all the different factors that could affect your epigenetics. So just like stress, whether or not you take certain medications, your social economic status, how athletic you are, your life choices, I don't know what the syringe is for, your diet. And they say that a woman who smokes while pregnant is actually changing the genetics of 3 generations. She's changing hers, she's changing her unborn baby, and then that baby is developing their eggs for the future. Or if it was female. So just from one act, you have passed on epigenetic effects for generations. And there's been case studies that have shown, like, it's called the Quebec study. There was a huge ice storm, wiped out power for 63 days. So they decided to study the pregnant women during that extremely stressful time period and then follow their children. And those children had high health effects than those that were not exposed to those high stress. So when you're pregnant, try to take stuff off your plate and relax and but you can see that they're trying to show obesity in this diagram here. So anyways, that is section 12.3 Other Patterns of Inheritance.